3 deadly crime scenes, all of them linked. First, a baby found dead on the 405 in Westchester. Then, a deadly crash in Redondo Beach. All this linked back to a homicide investigation in Woodland Hills.
With so many pieces to this developing story, we're bringing you comprehensive coverage. We begin with Fox 11's Haley Winslow live from Culver City. Hey.
Christine and Alex, this is so tragic. Nearly an entire family was killed within hours of each other in different locations and under different circumstances, but circumstances that seem so preventable. And this so quickly spiraled out of control to the point where there's no way to fix it now, leaving a little girl having to deal with these scars for the rest of her life. A tragic end in Redondo Beach Monday morning leaves a 9-year-old girl in the hospital, suddenly all alone. She lost her whole family in 3 different locations.
Even though I do this every day, this definitely hits home. It hits definitely different when it's a kid that, didn't really have a chance, especially an infant, a baby, that's really helpless. And just to see this is very traumatic. That baby was killed on the side of the freeway in front of her older sister. It was about 4:30 in the morning on the 405 North near Howard Hughes, and a driver saw the 2 girls, stopped, and called 911. We did have a witness who called this in. They did stop. They're the ones that, put out that information. They said there was a dark sedan vehicle in the area at the time. Investigators from several different law enforcement agencies are working to piece this all together, but they believe it started with a domestic dispute at the Montecito apartment complex in Woodland Hills. Sources say a woman in her mid-30s stabbed her partner, killing him, and then took off with the kids in a black Porsche. The big question, how did the girls end up on such a busy freeway? Detectives are trying to figure out if they fell or were pushed out of the car. Do their injuries give you any kind of indication as to what happened to these kids? Great question. So as far as the type of injuries, there's some sort of trauma going on with these injuries. However, there's so many different things that could have happened to how that took place. I would think dash cameras in people's cars, if they were driving the area 4 or 5 o'clock this morning, could really help you guys. That would be huge, yes. So like I said, anybody that was in that area, that general area, 4 to 5 a.m. in the 405 area between, Howard Hughes, Centinela is where we're putting it out. Every little thing could help us out at this point to get to the bottom of this. Inside this now mangled Porsche, sources say was the girl's mom, who died when she crashed into a tree near a church in Redondo Beach, leaving the 9-year-old girl the sole survivor in this awful tragedy. And that 9-year-old girl is expected to heal from the trauma, well, at least the physical trauma, but the mental and the emotional trauma that she'll be dealing with for the rest of her life will likely be a much tougher battle. Christina Gonzalez is over in Woodland Hills at the scene of the domestic dispute where this all unfolded. Christina, what can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you people here are really, really upset. Many of them heard screaming last night. You'll hear from the man who found the body, but they had not made the connection to those children on the freeway until we talked to them. Listen.
I heard screaming.
Could you make out if it was a man or a woman screaming?
I heard a little girl screaming.
It was a little girl screaming.
And a mom, I think.
What residents at the Montecito apartments in Woodland Hills heard about 3:30 in the morning coming out of a neighboring apartment where a young couple, a 9-year-old girl and an infant, were living.
Someone screaming for help. I heard this big thump, sounded like a bowling ball hitting my whole ceiling vibrated.
That was probably the sound of a vehicle crashing through the building's apartment gate as it sped out of the parking lot. Then
walked out our front door, and to the left is their door, and their door was wide open, and there was blood all throughout their front door, all the way to the hallway leading to the elevator, and blood on the walls. So then I called my dad.
I went into the apartment. I stepped over blood puddles and checked on the body and saw that he was dead. He was face down, and I called 911, of course.
It wasn't until later many of the residents at the apartment building realized the 2 children ejected from a vehicle on the 405 freeway were the same ones living in the apartment where the man was found dead.
No. Oh my gosh, the girl used to play with my daughter. That's so sad.
Any indication ever that something was going on there that could possibly even close to end in a bad way?
Our neighbors have heard fighting, and I've heard fighting, but I could never imagine this. You don't think your neighbor's going to get murdered. No.
A lot of going on up there, and, you know, at one point I was thinking of calling Child Protective Services, but
Why?
because I had I don't know, I just did.
And the baby didn't make it? Because I saw, oh my God, I'm like going to be sick.
Images now of officers taking out from the apartment a parakeet and 2 bunnies. They were the pets of the children as they go on securing the apartment. The coroner doing their thing up there, and as soon as they are done with what they're doing in the apartment and get back to their location, they will proceed to notify the official names, the official notification of the identities of these people, and then we'll give you more information. But again, just people here were just terribly upset about this whole thing. Live in Woodland Hills, I'm Christina Gonzalez. Back to you in the studio. Christine, Alex.
All right.